Good evening and welcome to Ruvheneko Online. We bring you this program right here on Facebook Live on Thursday evenings. We've changed our time for today to cater to everything that was going on in the course of the day. It's been a very busy day for everybody. As you know, it's a busy season, but the value of being on Facebook is that either way, we know that we can still get together and discuss the issues that matter. So we hope that you're still there with us as our audience. We do honor that some of you got there at 6 o'clock to join us, but we are here now, and we hope that we can have a fantastic discussion around elections. Now, we are discussing the youth vote tonight. We want to understand what the youth leaders in the respective political parties in Zimbabwe are doing to mobilize the youth vote. It's a very critical vote. One, because the youth constitutes the majority of the Zimbabwean population, which also translates to the voting population. So we have the power, in a lot of ways, as young people of Zimbabwe, to alter the fate of history for this country. And I don't know if you or I fully understands that. And tonight is for just that. We're here bringing you this program with our partners, the Election Resource Center, ERC Zimbabwe. You can follow them on all their social media handles. And I want to thank all the sponsors that have made this show happen. Pro Air, first of all, for keeping us alive because it's boiling in here. So thank you, George, for that. I also want to thank Brands for Less for how they dress me every week. So thank you for that. So let me introduce our panel tonight, right? And of course, you constitute the panel as well. Your comments, your contributions on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on the website are welcome to this conversation. So let me start by introducing our panel tonight. We have Gideon Mandaza. He is the MDC incumbent Youth Assembly chairperson, member of the Standing Committee, former provincial youth organizer of MASH East, contested in the parliamentary elections of 2013. I like how it says contested. What happened?
I don't want to talk about it.
Is it emotional?
Yeah, it's a sad one. Encounter.
Executive member of the Catholic Commission for Justice and Peace, pioneering member and alumni for the Program for Young Politicians in Africa, PYPA. Welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Ruvheneko. It's good to be here. Greetings, everyone.
It's good to have you. So just kungonzi MDC incumbent Youth Assembly chairperson, zvakureve mazvan nezvakuitika nemaparties enyu.
It doesn't mean much, safe to say that that's a responsibility that one is bestowed with, and if anything, you just need to deliver. Still doesn't change much.
Who's your leader? Who's your leader?
My leader is the leader of my party.
Yes.
It's Professor Ruvheneko.
So what happens to all the other leaders who also talk of MDC? What happens to the alliance?
No, now that we have the alliance in place, it doesn't change much. Political parties still remain as independent political parties. Nevertheless, for the purposes of the election, we have come together primarily to have one candidate. So in a way, the alliance, it doesn't change the structure of the formations of all the individual political parties that are involved in that alliance. So
you'll have one leader as the individual parties,
yes,
and within your parties, you'll retain your positions.
Exactly.
Just for the election.
And perhaps after the elections, I mean, some of these things will emerge as we go.
This conversation will emerge in the hour as we go. We'd also like to welcome Darlington Nemachena. He is the interim youth chair for Appa, which is the Alliance for People's Agenda. If you'll remember, we spoke with the leader of this party a few months ago, Dr. Nkosana Moyo, when he had just launched his party here at the Meekles in Harare. So now we have his youth delegation here. And he started his political career in ZimPF initially, where he was the organizing secretary for Mbare, up until the split with Amai Mujuru. He remained a member of ZimPF and was promoted to National Youth Treasurer up until the party was split by Brigadier Mutambara. And he met Dr. Nkosana Moyo before he launched Appa, and then you've been a member since. Yeah? How did you meet him?
We were in ZimPF then.
Right.
And we wanted, we had split with Brigadier Mutambara, and we wanted Nkosana to come and lead ZimPF. So they sent the National Youth team to say go and talk to him because they were having their own issues with the other guys. So that's when we met.
Okay.
We sat with him and you sat with the guy.
I did sit with him. We did. We sat with him as Zimbabwe. And we spoke with him in depth, yeah. So that's where you're at, and you're looking forward to winning the elections next year.
Definitely.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
That's why you're here.
That's why
we want to hear more. All right, and then last but not least on the panel tonight, we have Farai Gwenure, who is a former journalist by training, like me, which already makes me not trust him. And he's also the national coordinator of the PDP, the People's Democratic Party. In 2015, he was part of a 4-member team which represented Zimbabwe at the 4th edition of the Southern Africa Regional Youth Forum in Antananarivo. Say that for me.
Antananarivo.
He only knows how to say it because he went there. If I had also given him this piece of paper, he might have also stammered. As well as the 5th edition of the same forum the following year in Lusaka, Zambia. Tell us about this forum.
Well, the forum is a forum where young people from SADC countries come together to discuss the matters that affect the region. As we all know that when there is instability in a country that's next door to you, the spillover effect might as well affect you. So the influx of citizens who migrate from Zimbabwe to South Africa affects the next country. So in Antananarivo, for example, we actually met to discuss migration in the context of our region, and also in the broader context with the influx of migrants who were traveling from Syria, in those war-torn zones to places like Germany, Turkey, and so on. So that's basically the forum. As we speak, the 6th edition is actually taking place in Namibia. And the topic for discussion this year that we voted for last time is social justice.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a very important forum. And we in Madagascar and Lusaka did an Antananarivo declaration that we raised a couple of issues, including the democratization of Swaziland.
Right.
And in Lusaka, Zambia, last year, we made another declaration in which we requested SADC to honor its promises, especially on issues to do with social justice. So that's basically about the Southern African Regional Youth Forum.
Well, good for you, and thank you for representing us on that level. Now we are looking forward to this conversation. As we said, we are live with you for the next just under 1 hour as we debate this topic tonight on the youth mobilization of the youth vote. Benjamin Disraeli said, the youth of a nation are the trustees of its posterity. And we want to understand how important you put the youth vote in the upcoming 2018 elections. Maybe let's just all understand which footing we're each standing on. And as parties, you can tell us, how much emphasis are you putting on the youth campaign? Let's start with you.
Thank you once again for the opportunity. I must say that all the efforts that are being made by the MDC are primarily targeted at the youths. Why I say the youths are the focal area is because the MDC parties fully understand the fact that when we talk of the suffering of the people of Zimbabwe, you can't leave out the youths in that equation. As a result, the number one thing that we had to agree on was to say, let's first find one another. After doing so, we then consolidate our efforts, everything that is at our disposal to make sure that we try and get the youths in a position where they can actually have a say in whatever is affecting them, more so the governance issues of this country. That being the case, you have now seen that we now have this alliance. The idea is, instead of us fighting in these little corners, why don't we all concentrate on the same programs, concentrate on the same events, and perhaps concentrate on the same strategies that should see us unseating the incumbent government. The youths are the most important people, I must say, primarily because of the population composition, like you rightly said. We constitute the majority, and that being a factor, you also need our concerns to be heard, to be taken on board. And it's unfortunate that I have to say this, that the incumbent government has literally failed on that aspect. And the hope that the young people, men and women of Zimbabwe have, literally lies in the opposition forces. And that is why, even as the MDC, we are looking forward to having a broader coalition, so that at least when we get to the elections, we don't have a situation whereby the opposition forces also get to contest one another. Rather, we need to come together, then we focus on our fights with just one enemy, that is ZANU-PF. Come the elections in 2018, that's just an election that we must get right. Okay. We should not fail in that endeavor.
All right. I like what you said. You are basically telling us that you, as the MDC, together with the Alliance, have programs in place to mobilize young people and get their ideas out there. Tell us of one such program, because you're saying that you want to give the young people a platform to express themselves, to be heard. What exactly are you doing to do that?
Okay, number one, I must point out the issue of education. We actually believe that the people of Zimbabwe in general have been starved of information. They know very little about what happens in the elections processes. And in that regard, we have devised the programs jointly, of course, as the youth assemblies, and we are reaching out to the youth in the various communities.
How?
No, we organize workshops, we organize meetings at various places. Then we have those members within the party that are mandated to be educating the voters out there, then meeting up with these youths.
Okay, I think, all right, I'm liking this as you're explaining what you're doing as is your strategy. Those of you who are watching this program, and if you're one of these young people that they talk about, that they say that they've organized workshops for and platforms to engage, please let us know which political parties have engaged you and how. As a young person, this is not directed at him as an individual or the MDC in isolation, but it's to understand as young people, how do you feel political parties have gone out of their way to get you out of your home, wherever you are, to try and get you interested in elections, to try to educate you and try help you be part of this process. Let me move on now to my other comrade here. You know, you are part of this Appa party that is new to Zimbabwe in a lot of ways. What are you doing, first of all, to deal with that? The fact that you're new and young people either love you or hate you. So tell us what your strategy is.
What we're doing now is first we're trying to educate the young people. That's the first thing that we are doing about what is voting, why they should vote, because those elements have been making, this is why you see young people didn't vote, because they didn't understand what voting was and why they were doing it. So now we're trying to educate them. We have what meetings that we do, and then we teach them what it means, what 2018 means, and what the youth vote means. Because without that knowledge, knowledge is power. Without that knowledge, they will never come to vote. Mm-hmm. But they need to understand why they have to spend 3, 4, 5 hours standing in the queue. That's what we're focusing on, trying to make them understand the importance of their vote. And
are you winning?
Yeah, we're winning. Because if you know what the reason, you can teach somebody else.
So how are you communicating this information?
Because
we don't see you, you know, if you were to ask me, you know, where I spotted a political party making noise or, you know, without it being your rallies or your marches, I'm curious to know how you're actually doing this. We're talking
to people in our constituencies. It's not yet
you can't say your constituencies, because you can tell it is.
Yes, but in the constituencies that we have leaders there. They have meetings with the people in that constituency.
Where was the last constituency you went to?
I think it was Chitumbiza. Yes. In which constituency are you in? Yes.
We want to verify these claims.
We're doing good. Which constituency are you in? And I can introduce you to the people there and you can attend one of them.
Okay, we'll talk off air. It's not about me today. Let's come to you, comrade Mr. Farai.
Yeah.
You have you've background in journalism, so you know a lot about communication. What is your key communication tool to appeal to young people? We've heard 2 different answers about how they're doing this. A lot of it sounds like we're going per ground. I want to hear from you what other innovative tools you're using to reach the young people that you need to talk to.
We basically do a lot of things. The first thing that we do is that we are a political party that writes a political statement like at least one every day. And we circulate that via our mailing list. And our mailing list has got a diverse group of individuals, including journalists.
A mailing list being email or WhatsApp? Which platform do you use?
MailChimp, it is an email platform. It gets into your email.
Right.
But it also goes direct to our Twitter feed. So once we post on that mailing list, the link also goes on our Twitter feed. It also goes onto our Facebook. Mm-hmm. So we are on that. Mm-hmm. And further to that, we also have structures. And our structures are in various WhatsApp groups. So messages that are generated by the party are in WhatsApp groups. by one way or in one way or the other, they also find themselves going outside the circles of our political parties to other young people out there.
Okay.
And then we also understand that the percentage of people who are online might be very huge, but as a proportion to the total population, it might be limited as well. So we tomorrow are actually holding our a special General Council of the Youth Assembly, which is specifically going to deliberate further strategies of spreading information on voter registration, because what we realized is that despite the fact that Section 40B subsection 1A of the Electoral Act mandates ZEC to do adequate voter education, which means they must provide information that's adequate to the citizen, because even if political parties are not there, ZEC has got a prerogative to tell the Zimbabweans that there is an election going on, and these are the things that they are supposed to do to exercise their right to vote. So despite the fact that there is that prerogative in the section that I quoted, ZEC, in my view, or in our view as a political party, has not done enough. And we find that cynical, contemptuous, and disrespectful to the mandate that they are given by the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution.
I'm going to just say, for the purpose of today's conversation, if you'll notice, there's no member of ZEC, neither is there a member of ZANU-PF. The purpose of that is so that we hear from the political parties your own independent thoughts and strategies. We're not here to discuss ZEC's rollout campaign. We're not. We're here to discuss your own, because the elections actually are coordinated by ZEC, but the elections are yours. You are the ones campaigning, and you're the ones who need to win. ZEC doesn't need to win anything. So for the purpose of today's conversation, we are focusing on you. We're not here to attack people who are not here to defend themselves. It's interesting that you can mention your thoughts on ZEC, but turikuvunza imimi semapati vatungamiri vemayuthi kuti muri kuita nezvei kuti mayuthi anoenda kunovhota muri kuvabata sei kuti vaende kunovhota. How are you encouraging them to? And talking about ZEC the way that you're talking about them doesn't encourage a young person to go and vote. In fact, it's counterproductive and very contradictory for people that want to win a vote. In the last election, in 2013, ZESNI recorded that 1,213,299 eligible voters between the ages of 18 and 22, only 140,689 were registered to vote. Can't tell you how many turned up, but 140,000 were registered out of over 1 million. So these are the numbers we want to understand, because believe it or not, ZEC is not going to convince people to vote, because ZEC is not being voted for. You are. So I'd like to know what you are doing to get the youth to vote for you. What are you offering?
I actually think you got me out of context.
No,
I
didn't. I heard what you said.
Let me make the point.
And you made your point, but now we've moved on to the next point. What are you doing to encourage the youth vote?
Can I come in on that?
Please.
It is unfair to ask us not to talk about ZEC, while we are having a discussion that talks about the elections. ZEC is a common factor in the elections equation. So we cannot avoid talking about ZEC. Now, here's the thing. I just want to bring in some clarity. The fact that we now have an alliance does not in a way erase the activities of the individual political parties. There are activities that we do as an alliance, and still there are also some activities that we do beyond the alliances as individual parties. Now, the point that I would want to make now is, as political parties, we realize that there are some issues that need to be addressed. Part of the challenges why you're having those low and worrying figures that you have just highlighted is because of the shortcomings of ZEC. It's unfortunate I have to repeat that, because at least if we can at least correct some things that ZEC is getting wrong, maybe you can have favorable responses from the youths. The youths want to be assured that they can have an election which is credible.
You've had 5 years to fight ZEC for credibility in an election. Now that we're months away from an election, you still want to go and talk about credibility?
We don't fight ZEC.
So what do you do?
No. We only make requests of the reforms that is ZEC must
And then when you
implement.
don't get your reforms implemented, you still continue to make noise and take ZEC to
It
court
is unfortunate.
and have marches
It is
up until
unfortunate
election
that
day.
every election that comes in a different environment, comes with its own changes, comes with its own advantages and disadvantages. This is a new election, and it would not be right for us to borrow a lot from the previous elections. Otherwise, we won't be having this upcoming election. This is a new election. Yes, we have learned some things from the past, but now we are saying, let's now map a way forward that should see more and more youths coming on board. So what are the things that we are looking for? I'm sure you have heard some of us saying that if anything, ZEC must improve on its ability to be transparent. That's a critical component or a critical element that is lacking from ZEC. In a way, it dissuades youths from taking part in the elections.
All right, I'm
They
just
must
going
just
to,
reform
I
around that
completely
factor.
hear your point, and I'm sure there's many people who support your point on Facebook. We are keen to read your comments, so please send your comments and your questions. Dion will give me your responses there as we are live. She'll be giving me some of your comments and your contributions to the conversation. I can see a comment came in on Twitter earlier. Don't put your eggs in one basket unless you want to watch them closely. That's from Becky Temba in Twitter. All right, someone else here says, leave no youth behind. That's Comrade Gwenzi via Twitter as well. But I know we also have a Facebook audience, so we will get your comments there and we'll address some of those in a moment. But coming back to our conversation, I am isolating, as I had said, the members that are not here present. And it is interesting because I'll also tell you what some other young people say, all right, about the elections and political parties. The question is, what are they offering? They being the political parties, not just you who are here, but all the political parties represented. So the question is, can you, independently as parties, campaign for an election that you want young people to participate in without hiding behind, oh, but the powers that be have put us in a corner. Oh, but the powers that be must reform A, B, and C. Let's assume everything was above board and all the reforms were implemented. Let's talk progressively. And I'm asking you just to do that. The time to debate with ZEC will come, and they'll be there, and you can say everything you need to say. But today we called you as political parties, because also mpiwe voice, atipiwe platform yekutaura, zvino muri pano muchiri kuda kutaura vasipo. Taurai zvenyu. What are you offering? Let's come to you.
I think we, as opposition, we can still win this election without even talking about ZEC. We can campaign without talking about ZEC, because that is not going to change. But what is going to change is how we formulate our strategies to
Yes.
bring in the young people.
And how you make a young person want to vote
Because
for
young
you.
people want exciting things.
Exactly.
Everything is now being politicized. If
Right.
you politicize everything too much, you're not going to draw in young
Right.
people. You got to do something exciting, something that brings them out. And you got to make it easy for them. Like they need affidavit forms to do this. Try and make those accessible to them.
They are, I believe, are they not?
Yeah, but you try to make it easier for them to get those, try to get them to be easy, to make everything easier for them. Because they're not patient people.
So you are helping young people do
Yes,
that.
we're helping them
How are
because
you
we
doing
know
that?
They're not patient people.
So what are you doing?
The ones that we have meetings with, we give them the affidavit forms and then we help them go to the Commissioner of Court. And then that makes it easy for them because they don't have to be moving too much. Because this generation is not a patient generation to be doing all that because they don't understand this whole patient thing that our parents understand.
I see.
So we're just trying to make it easier for them.
Make the process shorter. Farai.
You know what? The reason why I was speaking to the issue that I was raising wasn't that I want to attack Zeki, because in my view, Zeki is not an individual and doesn't belong to an individual. It's a commission that belongs to all of us. But it's very important for young people before they go to a registration center to know the obstacles that they are going to face. Because if we lie to them that when you go there, it will be smooth, when they go there and get the obstacles that I was speaking to, they then bring a backlash to some of us. And as a leader, I would have failed by misinforming the young person that it's a straw in the park. I have to tell them that, you know what, there is what I might suspect to be a deliberate ploy to disenfranchise young people because they are thought to be a group of dissenting views with the ruling elite. Therefore, it is very important to know that you are doing this for your own future. And when you go there, these are the obstacles that you are going to face. That does not mean that as a political party we are not doing anything. And that does not mean that as an alliance we are not doing anything. And I will tell you what we are doing. The issue of an affidavit that my comrade here is talking about, it's not like you get the affidavit commissioned by a lawyer who is in his office and go with it to ZEC and to be accepted. The answer is no. You go, the commissioner must be present at the registration center. So ZEC actually wants to see the form being commissioned, despite the fact that in any other transaction that you might want to do, for instance, a bank loan, you can actually go to a lawyer's office, get your documents commissioned, and go with them. They don't need to see the lawyer. They want to see the stamp of a registered public notary, which is different with the ZEC. That's the point that I was making. I wasn't trying to say we are not going to do anything. We are going to just.
You had already made that point, comrade.
So okay.
You really had.
So now, in terms of
these
what
politicians, they make points and then they remake the point, then they make the point.
In terms of what we are offering, we understand that this country has been arrested in hopelessness, fatigue, rudderless, futureless, leaderless sometimes, and in that permanent fudge, young people have lost hope because close to 80,000 people graduate every day with no jobs. So we, in the PDP, wrote a document called the Holistic Program for Economic Transformation, in which we talk of big capital projects. For a time, I would explain how we are going to do that. So the agenda is to create equal opportunities for every young person to be able to pursue their own happiness. I don't want to be in politics. I want to be pursuing my own dreams. But because I was caught up in this mess, I decided not to apply the bystander approach of saying I'm outsourcing my freedom to Mukoma Mandaza or Chairman Chidziva, who is not here present, or Mukoma Weko Appa. I decided to be active.
Right.
But I'm not even a politician. Right. So that's what we are offering. Alternative economic blueprints that can give hope to young people that there is a future despite the current status quo. Only what you need to do is to take charge of your own future by at least participating in an electoral cycle that comes once in 5 years.
So there's the issue of accessibility. That's also been an issue, as you touched on briefly, regards the voting process. Do you think that the additional voter registration centers that have now begun in this ZEC voter biometric registration process has increased that accessibility and that more young people are going to go? Is this now convenient?
Can I come in? In terms of convenience, I don't think we've had serious issues around it. Yes, the centers are all over, and we've had people that are responding to the call to register. Nevertheless, I must point this out. Not enough information has been circulated, and I will try to avoid naming anyone in that regard. Not enough information has been made available. Normally, when such exercises are being rolled out, you find the messaging all over. You find communication all over. But this is not the case this time around. But however, in terms of accessibility, I'm sure most of the people have managed to get to the sites. But more can still be done. What is of concern to me right now is, in as much as accessibility is an issue, there is a serious concern around dualized processes. You are aware that you've got a BVR that is running parallel to the program by the Registrar General's office. I must say, such a setup or such an approach at times may look like a good idea, but yet a bad one. Just a few minutes ago, before we started this show, I was just reading a message from someone in Lupani who was saying that, look, from ZEC is already here conducting this process of voter registration, but the Registrar General's office is coming at a later date such a setup, in a way, inconveniences the would-be voters that would want to register. So I think some of these things need to be ironed out, and perhaps the accessibility element could be improved, because like in that instance of Lupane, by the time that the Registrar General's office gets to Lupane and gives ideas to those people, it will be difficult for the same people to then reach out to where ZEC would have moved to. That is just a concern that I'm raising.
Okay, we'll pick that up right after the break. We're going to take a quick break right here on Ruvheneko Online. We'll be back with you shortly. Stay tuned. And a big thank you, of course, to all our partners, the Election Resource Center, that are helping us in these discussions as we try and encourage young people to participate in these discussions around our voter registration more and more. So we'll be right back after this.
As Pastor G, I've realized one thing. Air conditioning is critical. You know, I spend a lot of time in my car, driving from performances, driving to rehearsal, you know, doing TV interviews, radio interviews, and just going around the business of music. And I've realized the value of good, clean, cool air conditioning. And I'm telling you, Pro Air has come in big time. And they service, I had an accident a couple of weeks ago, and my air conditioning unit was damaged badly. But Pro Air came in, stepped in, fixed it for me. And now I've got good, clean weather in my car. Pro Air, Makeke. We make the weather behave.
Yeah. Sometimes I may be green, depending on my smile. Sometimes I feel blue, but it's really been a while. So color me brown, but I never miss red. Sprinkle a little bit of yellow just to brighten up my day. My girl's black and white like my old TV set. Mama's always on my case, her room needs a paint job. But I be like, nah, I'm trying to get a day job. I can paint the picture vivid, forget it all on credit. So tell me where to look.
Superior paint technology, amazing quality guaranteed. Give me some color and rock my world. Give me some color and paint my world. Superior paint technology, amazing quality guaranteed. Nash Paint. Give me some color and rock my world. Nash Paint. Give me some color and paint my world. Nash Paint.
Nash Paint. Superior paint technology, amazing quality.
For all your air conditioning, heating and cooling, call Pro Air. Make the weather behave.
Make summer behave with Pro Air air conditioning systems. Keep cool in summer and warm in winter. We are accredited installers and distributors of LG, Roa, and Samsung air conditioning systems from as little as $699.99. And we do regassing of car air conditioning systems while you wait for only $69.99. Also available are portable aircon systems for hire. Come visit our offices at number 3 Hampton Street, Belvedere, Harare. Call our number 0779 840 840 or visit our website www.proairzw.com. Pro Air Air Conditioning. We care about your air.
Welcome back to Ruvheneko Online. Tonight we're discussing the youth mobilization of the youth vote. We want to know what the political parties are doing, particularly their youth wings, to mobilize young people to participate in next year's general election. And some of your comments around this topic have been more around, you know, opinions around the panel or presenters, which is fine. But we're curious to know what it's going to take the young people to actually care about participating in an election. And I want to come to that point now. We have there's a number of young people that have just entered the political field. You know, one of them being Fadzai Mahere, for example. We've got Vimbai. You know, there's people that are trying to put their faces out there, fresh faces. Do you think that this is going to contribute to exciting the youth vote in participating in next year's elections?
Yeah, definitely. I think it will help because young people have not really been participating in elections, and now you have Fadzai coming in, she's doing this and that, trying to bring in young people into this whole game. So now young people understand that it can be done. If she can do it, I can do it. So that draws in more young people into the game. So it's actually helping in its own way.
I think Fadzi runs a very modern campaign, a campaign that is quite attractive to the iPad generation, because the smartphone is now the biggest weapon of mass destruction. And Fadzi is made sure that she tries and capture a targeted group online as well, complementing the door-to-doors that she does and so on. And I'm sure political parties have one or two, three things to learn from her. But overall, the issue of new faces is quite a good idea. Because when you fight a regime for a long time, there is a temptation to actually do what is called isomorphic mimicry. So if there's corruption in the left...
Called what, sorry?
Isomorphic mimicry.
Okay.
So if there's corruption in the left, there might end up being corruption on the right. So I'll give you a very faraway example so that I don't look personal. The soldiers that go on peace mission under the UN end up being accused of raping and so on. So in the areas that they go, the terrorists would have been accused of raping and so on. So fighting someone for a long time on its own without getting proper counseling and so on, which is occasional, might end up with you mimicking the person you are trying to fight.
I think just make your example very specific.
So it's very
Please contextualize it.
No, I'm not being personal. I'm not being personal. For example, myself, I've been in this struggle for about 8 years.
Right.
And I feel tired. And
what are you tired of? What's frustrating you?
People die. I've seen people die. And I don't want to continue seeing people die.
Who are these people and why are they dying?
They are killed in this political discourse by opponents. I don't want to mention names because you said we should talk about people who are not here. But I'm telling you, people
You can
die.
go ahead. I mean, we had a discussion during the break.
Okay,
and
so I had
fine.
colleagues who died when I was 19 years of age. People I'd worked with. People I had seen an hour ago who died, and when I came back, I could identify them when the police were asking me, who are these people? But the point I'm making is that in such kind of environment, you can't stay there forever and continue to be effective. You need to be replaced by other people. So in my view, the coming in of new people into this political fraternity is very important in re-energizing the struggle. So the new people must respect the old guard, and the old guard must also respect the new people because they bring in new ideas, and the new people can also learn from the old guys from the experience.
You brought in an interesting dynamic, and that being of security, not just of the electorate, but also of the political parties, like you've just alluded to when you're talking about what you witnessed when you were 19. Two-part question then. The security of young people. A lot of young voters are not comfortable going to vote because they're not sure what it means for their confidence, for their privacy, and for their security. That's one. And two, yourselves as political players, I mean, you sound like you're still traumatized. As much as you try to sweep past it, you sound like, I mean, nobody goes through that and stays normal. You know, what you're talking about, you might be speaking about it quickly on a talk show, but I think it would be wrong for us to move past a point like that and just continue. So maybe if you go back to that point and let us in on a little bit more, because I've never sat down with you, comrade, and heard the side of your story. So I think it would be good if you let us in a little bit on that. Some of these guys are new players in the PDP, I mean in the Appa party, and maybe they should know what's, what to expect.
The truth of the matter is that we are in an environment that is dominated by people who failed to demilitarize from the machine that liberated us from the colonial rule. So with all due respect, we respect the idea of liberation struggle. It was necessary. But there came a time that the liberation movement was supposed to demobilize and become a proper civilian organization that's there to save the economic transformation of the people in Zimbabwe. In other words, what we call the unfinished business of the liberation struggle, because the liberation struggle was meant to deal with certain issues of inequality, issues of limited opportunities for the black person, and so on and so on. So,
okay, you're still speaking in riddles.
No.
More specifically.
Let me be specific.
Yeah.
So these individuals, when their power is threatened, their de facto or their mechanism of last resort is always violence.
What happened when you were 19?
When I was 19, I worked at an MDC office in Zaka Jerera. And you can find this online, it's on record. What happened is that I left that office to go look for SADSA in the middle of the night. When I came back, there was no office. The office had been petrol bombed. And there were 3 people who survived. And 2 people died inside that office. And I would say this is a danger that might not affect the ordinary voter. And this is a promise that I give to the young person. When we say participate, we are not exposing you to risk because your vote is secret. So when you go to vote, I don't think you are going to be victimized for voting. The people who face the danger are actually the people who are active like myself, like himself. So I don't think the issue of security might affect the voter. Of course, in the rural areas.
Well, it does in a lot of ways. I'm sure you're aware to that, comrade. There's some that will come and talk about voter intimidation and the assisted vote. You know, even now, we don't know what's going to happen with this said assisted vote.
Yeah, and in terms of assisted voting, you will also realize that recently there is a statutory instrument, statutory instrument 117 of 2017, which was done in line with Section 2 of the Presidential Powers and Temporary Measures Act, which actually makes voter registration assistance compulsory. With the level of literacy that we boast of in this country, I don't think it was necessary to actually put it in black and white in a law that you have to ask for this assistance. So, for instance,
no, I mean, I think the assisted vote, I mean, let's break it up for a second. You spoke about something, I want to elaborate. You wanted to mention something after he had spoken about the danger that the political parties themselves are at, the danger that perhaps the civilians might not experience. Would you like to add to that point, and what have you yourself experienced since being part of the MDC?
The point that I want to make first is that the coming on board of young men and women such as Fadzi means a lot to us, the youths. And if anything, the simple message from that is that we have been let down and the old guard has failed us. We have the ZANU-PF-led government and it has taken us nowhere. And that is the reason why we are now having these young men and women becoming more and more bold in saying we are going to confront the regime, we are going to confront the system. The issue of security that we have just spoken about, I must say, even right now as we speak, with the ongoing voter registration exercise, security is still a concern. Number one, there is security around the process itself. Then there's also security around the persons that are involved in the processes. I'll just touch a bit on the process in itself. You realize that right now as we are going through with this voter registration exercise, very few of us, if any, know exactly what is happening to those features that have been taken of us, what is happening to the details that have been taken of us. In a point I'm saying, after they have captured this information, where is it going to? Who's looking after it?
Okay, sorry, that's a separate point.
Yes, no, I'm getting to your point.
I was curious to hear, as political leaders, he talked about a threat on his life and a threat on his colleague's life. He witnessed his friends die in moments. And I say moments because he went out to buy food in the middle of the night, came back to where they were, and his colleagues were dead. That is
I'm
the
coming
point we're
to
discussing now. Yeah, but let's not go around. Let's
That
not go
point
to.
is
I'm just
informed
wanted
by
us
this
to.
other point that I've just mentioned.
I don't know.
It's important
I
that
don't
the
know.
people out there get to know
No,
and
I'm not saying
understand
that your point is
the
not valid, sir.
security
I was just
concerns.
still on that one.
Fine.
The security concerns of you as political parties. We
As
can get to the other
politicians.
points, that's not a problem. But let's just have our conversation guided. This is why I'm here.
As
Why we're discussing
politicians,
this point.
It's a fact that Zimbabwean elections have been subjected to violence. That is not an issue that you can run away from. I'm sure you have witnessed militarized formations that exist in our country. Those formations are not only in existence just for decorative purposes, but are actually in existence for a purpose. People are terrorized. Let's take it as a fact. I come from Mutoko. That's just one of the places that is regarded as a very violent places. In Mutoko, starting with the headman of a particular village, that's the #1 person to terrorize the villagers. Either you do what we say or else you are blacklisted. And when I say you are blacklisted, that means there will be consequences for your action. These are the people that are sent at the forefront to, in a way, make the people that participate in an election insecure. Once that is promised to you that there will be consequences, surely whatever that you do after that will not be by your conscience, but it will be primarily because of the manipulative processes that would have taken place. That's just the lowest level of insecurity that we know is being pushed for by the party in government.
Let's come to our comments here. We're soon getting to the wrapping up of our program, but I want to come to some of the comments here coming in on Facebook. Here is one. This is Maureen. She says, these people can't communicate, and if they are tired, they must stay at home. I think she's not feeling your energy. Another comment here, Ezra Mbangani says, are those assessing trained? If so, by who? I think that was probably in reference to a comment made by one of you around the assessment of the elections. And then Tuxedo on Facebook says, "Gorerino chatongwa never kadzi." I don't know what that means, but yeah. Okay, so let's come back to this issue. You were ZimPF, now you are Appa. Have you experienced any direct threats or attack on your person or witnessed it on your colleagues since running this political race?
Not yet. We have not. But when we get into this game, there's one thing we understand. There's a price to every struggle. There's going to be violence. And you know, no African country, they will not hand you over.
You're anticipating violence.
It's always there. This is what African countries do.
So what are you doing to protect the electorate? Because I think as political parties,
when you go and register,
they want to
there's
hear.
no violence. Because you're not talking to anybody.
Right.
You can't beat someone who you do not know who they're going to vote for.
Right.
That's ignorance.
Right.
So when you go and register, there's no violence. But when you start attacking the other parties, that's when people start beating each other up. When you go to vote, it's a private thing. You go in, you vote. So I can't beat you because I don't know who you voted for. It's in the way you approach it. Because the more you talk, you understand this whole rally thing that people actually like doing a lot. This is when people are making a lot of noise and then the opposition comes in and then people are fighting on it. But when you go to register, I don't think people should worry about that. Because when you go to register, nobody knows who you're just registering. So what's the fighting about? And then you're going to vote. Who am I voting for? You don't know. So you can't beat me. All you can do is encourage me to vote for your party. That's about it. But when you start talking to these people now, you're trying to fight them and you're trying to talk nonsense to one another, even to an MDC guy, something will happen. Friction will come up and people will end up fighting.
Interesting. You're listening to Ruvheneko Online, and we're soon going to wrap up our program, but just so that we can have some take-home points from each of you as representatives here tonight, and I want to thank you for coming and making yourselves available for this conversation, but I want to know, just as a take-home point, what you would say to the youth right now. I know kuti majaira pamukutaura pamarally, so maybe look at this as a rally, okay, in a sense, because there are people watching. And what message would you give them as we prepare for the elections, whether it's a warning, whatever it is that you might want to give as parties? What would you say?
What I would say to the youth is we have to go out and vote, because all of us, most of us, almost about 90% of us, we still live with our parents, we still get food from our parents. Voting is what takes away that and gives you power to get a job and then live your own life, start your own life. Voting is about you attaining freedom. But I'm not just going to end the day on the youth. Our parents also, how do they come out of the house and go and register and leave the children in the house? Because they understand the importance of voting. They understand what it means and where we are going. So why should they say, Chisara wakachengeta imba, so Tichambo no register? They are the ones who are causing us to suffer like that as well, because there is no youth who does not have a parent that they are with. So the parents also have to take their children and go and register and go and vote.
Okay.
We need that to happen.
All right.
I would want to say, look, as far as we are concerned as a political organization together with our partners in the MDC Alliance, we have we demonstrated our capacity to actually transform the situation of Zimbabweans during the time of the government of national unity. And we are still the same people who were there when all hope was lost in 2007. We came into government. Professor Washman, his leader, was one of the finest industry ministers in this country. Nkoma Tendai Biti was probably the best finance minister in Africa those days. And those guys, together with the Mukoma Tsvangirai who leads them, have demonstrated the capacity to transform the people of Zimbabwe. But they can only get a mandate to do that from the ballot box. So it is very important for young people to register in their numbers. And the demographics of the young people itself says a lot about the capacity to be a game changer of our situations. We don't want to continue to be in situations of joblessness when we have the capacity to take it into our own hands and determine our future and pursue happiness as we go forward.
Thank you.
As the youths of Zimbabwe, our country needs us more now than it did yesterday. The elections are upon us, and if anything, they are presenting us with an opportunity, with a chance to make sure that we do away with a government that has failed us, that we do away with a government that has proven to be clueless in terms of changing the plight of the youths. We've been made poor, our dignity has been eroded, and if anything, this is a chance to redeem ourselves. We are being presented with a chance to make a choice come 2018, a choice on whether we should continue on the trajectory that we are on, or if we can, an option to also change that. This is our chance, and I would want to end that with a quote from my president. This is the quote. You are given one bullet, and you must kill an elephant. One bullet to kill an elephant. What it means is that you need to know when to shoot, where to shoot, and how to shoot. And you need to get it right. 2018, we must not fail. That's our chance to reclaim our lost pride. Let's go out there, let's get ourselves registered to vote, and we make sure that come 2018, we go out and vote in overwhelming numbers to an extent that it becomes very difficult even for anyone to try and manipulate those things. It's our chance, it's our time. Let's make sure we make it the best out of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there you have it, parting shots from our panel tonight. Gideon Mandaza, MDC, Incumbent Youth Assembly Chair. Darlington Nemachena, Interim Youth Chair for the Alliance People's Agenda, Appa. And also Farai Gwenure, National Coordinator, PDP, People's Democratic Party. There's a comment here from Marcy Wilkes on Facebook. Marcy says, thank you guys for being brave. I think that the point that, you know, I'm sure you know exactly what she's referring to there. So I guess it's saying, thank you for putting your necks out the line. And then a question here, but it's more, I think it's food for thought as we go. So what is the opposition doing to safeguard citizens from threats? And how are they reassuring citizens are not intimidated? And I think that's what we want to hear from. Ultimately, that's what we want to get to. And by the time the election date is announced, I think we all want to be, number one, registered. And number two, understanding what it means to hold the power of the vote. I think we've been discussing on social media over and over again, and I keep insinuating how valuable and how priceless our vote is, especially as young people, and don't take that for granted. And it's a very, very valuable vote, and I think every party needs to earn our vote. And so thank you to our partners, ProAir. Thank you for making the weather behave. And also thank you to the Election Resource Center as we bring you these debates, the Zimbabwe election debates, Z 2018. There'll be more of these debates on Star FM, as well as right here on this platform. And as we promised in the beginning, we will be taking our debates out there. We'll be going out further, especially when tempers have settled a bit. You'll find that in this period, particularly for the ruling party, it's a difficult time to get guests to come on and speak openly. So we shouldn't take these forums for granted. And we shouldn't take these guests that bring themselves here for granted, because it seems to be quite a tricky time to come out and be subjected to public vindication. So we will play with the times, we'll move with the times, but we are not going anywhere. And we're going to be bringing you lively debates throughout the season, right up until we can't, just before elections. So thank you again. Thank you to Brands for Less for dressing me. Thank you, Sonia's Events. And thank you to my team behind the scenes. It's always great working with you. So that's it from me for tonight. Food for thought. Are you going to register? If not, why not? And let's bring those discussions to these panels. Good night. Be good. And if you can't be good, be safe.